Have you seen it? Another one bites the dust. Another carnivore influencer has gone in the ditch. They've abandoned us. One of the thought leaders of the whole movement has just totally gone off of his nut. I mean, for real, have you seen this? It's just unthinkable. It's unthinkable. I mean, of all the people that I would expect to fall off the wagon, I never thought in a million years I would see Kerry Mann. Kerry Mann. Healing humanity. Kerry Mann. Oh my God. Oh, it's not what you think, actually. So put your steak knives down. Back up. Back up. Stand down.
Stand down! Lower your weapons!
Stand down, carnivores. Stand down. It will be okay. I swear to God. And I gotta say, Kerry, kudos to the clickbait. I love the martini glass, because everybody's looking at that and they're thinking it's one of those dirty martinis. You got Grey Goose in there with some olive juice or something going on. That's the first thing everybody thought. I'm just saying. That's just what they did. Because it's a martini glass, okay? I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but I have got to react to this video, okay? I've got to react to this because as a clinical microbiologist of over a decade, I have a lot to say on the subject that he's talking about in this video. So why don't you get comfortable, pull up a chair, and join me as I react to the latest earth-shattering, devastating, mind-blowing Kerry Mann video right here on the Carnivore Science Channel.
After 1,000 days on the carnivore diet, I have made a significant change. This is not carnivore, by the way. I have made a significant change to my diet. I've been strict carnivore for 1,000 days. Beef, butter, bacon, eggs. Like those 4 things. Almost nothing else. A little bit of chicken or fish here. No cheating, no experimenting, nothing. The only liquid I've drank is water. This isn't water. Until now. And why did I make this change? And what has this change done to me?
But just eating meat, as good as that is not enough.
I'm telling you, that guy can give Chafee a run for his money. Actually, it's like an older version of Chafee. Like he's a nice looking man. I'm just saying, okay? I'm sorry.
First, I want to be perfectly clear. Carnivore has completely saved me. Down 100 pounds since my heaviest, overcame depression, arthritis, IBS, reversed my congestive heart failure. Got off like 15 medications. You know what I do with these now? I don't need any of those pills anymore. It's been a true game changer. For me, I'm like, why would I change anything? Beef, butter, bacon, eggs, those 4 things have saved me. Why would I mess with what feels so...
It's true, though. His story is pretty amazing. I talked about Michaela Peterson having an amazing story because she was 17 and she actually had hip and ankle replacement and all this kind of stuff. And then she turned that around with carnivore. And his story is almost as amazing as that. But, I mean, he wasn't 17 and didn't have joint replacement. But a lot of stuff that was some serious crap, congestive heart failure, and you turn that around with carnivore. That's amazing, really.
So amazing and so incredible.
There is a lifestyle way better than that.
Well, that was all before I talked to Dr. Sean O'Mara.
I started actually out in law enforcement, worked as a police officer. Then I went to law school and became a criminal prosecutor. I got a scholarship through the military, Air Force, and the Army, and I accepted an Army scholarship. And so I went into medical school, essentially emergency medicine, for about 25, 30 years. I worked.
How old is this guy? I mean, like he was a policeman, and then he was an attorney, and then he was a doctor. My God, he spent like most of his life in school. That's crazy. That's almost as crazy as me. I got 4 degrees, and I thought I was nuts. I was in there for a long time, but that's crazy. Cool though.
with members
And again, he's really cute. Just saying.
of the president's cabinet.
And he made some very convincing arguments.
I came to the conclusion that if I was deceived about my level of health and just kept falling apart, and I'm an MD physician, and all my colleagues are too, what hope does the average person have?
And he pegged me on a couple of things. He really had my number on a couple of things.
If you're a carnivore and you're scared to death because of all the benefits that you've gotten,
I was skeptical. So watch this quick interview with Dr. O'Mara and what he had to say. But just know this, I have seen incredible healing by people eating a carnivore diet. And it's miraculous. It's amazing what's happening. I'm not advocating for some big change. In fact, I was very hesitant to post any of this because I don't want any confusion out there whatsoever. But I feel so strongly, all of this was 60 days ago. So if you watch this video till the very end, I'm going to show you what happened over those 60 days, what change I made, why I did it.
Oh, that looks like milk. Oh my God. Milk is actually from an animal. So I'm just joking.
Hear from Dr. O'Mara on his reasonings behind it. But I'm going to show you what happened. And I wasn't even going to release this video except for the fact that I did this for 60 days. And this has made a profound and meaningful impact on my body, on my life. I feel like in retrospect, carnivore got me 90% there. And this was the other 10%. Our ancestors weren't drinking this, but there is a very important reason why this is ancestrally appropriate now. Let's hear what Dr. O'Mara has to say. I've been eating carnivore myself now, and it's completely saved my life. I'm doing so well on carnivore. It's like if it's not broken, don't mess with it. I've only been eating beef, butter, bacon, eggs. I haven't had a single fruit.
You know, he's actually right about the being worried thing, about carnivores being super worried about, oh my God, I don't want to accidentally like eat certain things, because we were so miserable before. I mean, I know I was. You can be alive but not living, you know, and that's the way I was. I had a very low quality of life. I was miserable. I was 100 pounds overweight. I mean, a laundry list of stuff. And just like him, I threw the prescriptions out. And carnivore fixed everything. So when you have something that good, it's like you do not want to mess it up. So that feeling of trepidation for anything different or new, or as you discover things, you know, trying new things, it is kind of scary. So, but there's a good reason for that. I mean, we were miserable. He was miserable. He was depressed, and all those medicines that he had to take and everything. So, and congestive heart failure, my God, I mean, that's amazing. So that all of that was reversed. I didn't have anything near that serious. But, you know, it's just interesting, you know, that carnivores like don't want to mess with what's working. So I get his feeling here.
Or vegetable in almost 1,000 days. What am I doing wrong, or what advice would you give me?
Yeah. So what I would tell you is, first of all, what you're doing right, you're eating the healthiest food known to man. What you would go to a new level doing is adding in these living microbes. They're going to allow you to get even more benefit, extract even more nutritional benefit from what you're doing correctly, eating that meat. So adding in the living diet, these fermented foods, and also being intentional about being exposed to the very best microbes in the planet and throughout your day, that goes well beyond just how you eat and what you eat. So just your interaction in the environment will take you to new levels.
Can you just talk briefly a little bit more, like what happens when we eat that food? Does it like feed the good bacteria, kill the bad bacteria? Like what's going on inside if we were to eat that? And a second question to that would be, what sort of fermented foods would you recommend?
Yeah. So the big difference with fermented foods from everything else is fermented foods are living foods. And if you're just eating carnivore diet or just eating vegan or vegetarian, you're eating dead food without living microbes. Back then, they would hunt, they would field dress the animal. There was no sterilized, disinfectant ridden kind of a processing center with clean disinfectant packaging and you know, trays and saran wrap and bleach and all these disinfectants.
All right. As a clinical microbiologist of over a decade, I can tell you that our environment going from everybody crawling around in the dirt, eating things, sticking our hands in our mouths, that kind of thing, and eating up the microbes that are covering us. That going to a super sterilized environment and everything sanitized the crap out of, that is harmful to us. And a lot of people look at that and go, no, that's great because now, we don't get all these things. Well, no, not really. It's kind of like if you look at Clostridium difficile. Okay, that's a bacteria. It is a gram-positive rod that actually is an anaerobe, and it causes, infections in the gut. It's a problem. You can't have that one, right? At the same time, if you take antibiotics or you wipe out for any other reason, like you wipe out all of the normal bacteria in your gut, you're going to be very sick. Okay, you're going to be very sick if you get that one bad bacteria, but you're also going to be very sick if you wipe them out. Now, outside of, when they start going, well, the microbiome and the blabbity blue and so many, millions and millions of bacteria, and it's this one's good and that one's bad, and they're actually trying to navigate exactly what's going on in the gut. That's like chasing stars in the universe. I mean, the gut is such a enormous environment, and it's such a complex thing, that God understands, but we don't, and they make it sound like they do, and they're constantly making all of these products that they're trying to sell you, and half of them, the bacteria that you're getting is destroyed in the gut. I mean, it's a ripoff. They're ripping you off a lot of times. Some are better than others, some formulations. Now, I'm not saying they're all bad, but that's an industry, okay? That is medical industrial complex trying to sell you a bunch of crap. But there is valid reason to have a populated biome that actually will be beneficial to you as a human. We have to have that. You have to have normal flora. It goes back to what it used to be called as normal flora. You have normal flora in your gut. You have normal flora in your vaginal area. Okay, that's another place we have normal flora. You have normal flora in your mouth. And these bacteria that are normal flora are things that we need. This is something we need to help us digest our food and to keep everything normal. If you actually take antibiotics and as a woman and you wipe out all the normal flora in the vaginal region, like you get a yeast infection, it's a nightmare. So there is valid concerns about this. And if you look at modern convenience, which has actually stripped us of anything that used to be. Now, you're not looking, everybody talks about the ancestors and what you eat meat-wise. We ate meat and all that kind of stuff. But they don't ever bring up, well, you know what? They didn't do it in a clean room. Like they're not washing their hands and sanitizing everything. So that does impact people. So I just want to say that from the start, that obviously we're talking about fermented foods here. I mean, you can put two and two together, but as much as that would be shocking if he was drinking a dirty martini, that would shock the world, wouldn't it? But it's not, and it is fermented stuff. So I have heard a lot of people say that they have had fermented foods and it actually helped them a lot. I've heard that quite a few times. It doesn't mean that you necessarily need to do that. Like, it depends on what your situation is, because we're all little universes. I mean, every person has a different health situation. They have a different makeup. They have different genetics. I mean, we're different in the way that we've historically eaten. So what one person needs, another might not,
The animal's microbes from the animal's fur and from its gut would be on the hands, transferred on the meat, consumed by the humans to the humans' benefit. We switched from a hunter-based, meat-based, centered lifestyle to a more agriculture agrarian lifestyle where we started to stay in place. Our microbiomes shifted for the worse. Beneficial microbes destroy and kill and outcompete the pathogenic ones. You want to mix these beneficial microbes in with meat when you chew this meat, instead of just chewing meat in your mouth or chewing bread, or if you're a vegan, chewing a head of lettuce and mixing bad microbes from your mouth into that whatever you're chewing and swallowing it, turning your dead meat into pathogenic meat or your dead vegetables into pathogenic.
I always go off, Dr. O'Mara, like whatever was ancestrally appropriate, whatever we've been doing since the start of time, that's what's best for me. So, and in this day and age, like eating meat is the cleanest I think we can eat. And if it can be grass-fed, grass-finished, that's even better. How does eating fermented vegetables fit into that?
Yeah. So, for sure, I'm a researcher, and I don't think our ancestors ate, certainly not for a long period of time, fermented vegetables. It was something that became a tradition that was handed down. And it became a tradition because it was noted within cultures of people that people who consume these fermented vegetables enjoyed benefits from them. It's not like you eat this and it causes your teeth to fall out and we're going to start, adopting this tradition. But our elders realized that it was important to their health. And the best advocacy that I could come up with why it's an imperative for us to eat this way is our microbiomes have been declining over a period of time as we've adopted more civilized ways of living. If you're eating meat, even only just meat, your microbiome is not what the microbiome used to be.
I'm learning here as I go, Dr. O'Mara, and I've interviewed hundreds of carnivores and a lot of good doctors. And it seems like a lot of people say when we talk about the microbiome, it's like the ocean. We only know about 1% of it. Some people just dismiss it. But just from what I've learned interviewing hundreds of people, I feel like it's a much bigger part of the equation than people realize. I have talked to so many people that have said, I did carnivore diet, and they all say the same thing. Around 3 weeks, I had this whoa moment in my gut. I couldn't feel it anymore. My mood was improved. And I never knew what that was. And then I interviewed this woman, her name's Malia.
But that first 3 to 4 weeks is one of the hardest die-offs. And many people call it the keto flu. We're all familiar with it. But it's really big as the body starts transitioning over to using energy differently.
And she specializes in the gut microbiome. And she said, that is probably one of many die-offs we have of the bad gut bacteria, and you're getting healthier. And it was like a puzzle piece fitting in there. Like, it makes perfect sense. So what you're...
But there's some high level assessments that you can make about what happens when you actually go carnivore and you get rid of, say, the standard American diet. There's a whole microbiome restructure that goes on in there, and at some point you're going to actually transition. Just like you transition to fat burning, you transition in your gut too. So you're transitioning into a healthier state in your gut, and you're going to feel it. So it makes sense.
What you're saying about the gut and the microbiome, I think is it all makes so much sense, especially when you look around in the world and we're over sanitizing and kids don't play in the puddles and get their hands dirty and all these things. And then you have pesticides and glyphosate and things like that. And a lot of the produce we're eating is probably also slowly destroying our gut, and maybe we don't realize it. One thing I really want to get into, Dr. O'Mara, is I've been eating carnivore myself now I'm coming up on 1,000 days near the end of the year. I was so sick before this, and my biggest issue was depression and anxiety, which I've completely reversed on carnivore. I was on 10 to 15 medications. I had a mini stroke. I had acid reflux, sleep apnea. They diagnosed me with congestive heart failure. And all of that has reversed eating this way. But I only do beef, butter, bacon, eggs. I'm kind of known online as like, oh, he's so strict. I've never had anything. The reason for that, from my perspective, is not because I'm not open-minded. Like there's some things that you've said that are really interesting to me that I may want to explore some more. But for me, I just feel so incredible. I'm doing so well on carnivore. It's like, if it's not broken, don't mess with it.
If you're a carnivore and you're scared to death because of all the benefits that you've gotten staying away from plants, then what I would recommend you consider doing is not eating any vegetables or plants, but just going to a natural food market and buying some fermented vegetables and drink the brine from it. It is nothing more than water,
Mystery solved. It's not a dirty martini.
metabolites, and the living organisms that fermented that particular plant or fruit or dairy. So you get that liquid and add it to your diet. You've not eaten any plants, and for at least at the bare minimum, eat fermented dairy that is completely animal products that are fermented, and get the living microbes that are attendant to the fermentation of dairy that are so strongly associated in many studies with optimizing health. So when it comes to yogurt, I recommend grass-fed yogurt that's organic, that's full fat, whole milk, so 3.25%, not low fat or non-fat, and no flavors, no fruit, nothing else, just plain tart, tangy yogurt. And, a few brands I like is Maple Hill. I like Nancy's. I kind of bought into, plants and vegetables are really beneficial. This was before, carnivore coming out. But I was ultimately having a bowel movement that was like a cow patty. I mean, if you're going to eat a lot of plants and vegetables, you're going to have a cow patty like stool. And so I don't hear our vegan counterparts or vegetarian counterparts talking about the appearance of their stool, but I advocate a discussion about stool because, how you defecate is how healthy you are. And so you want to have a type 4 pointed stool at both ends.
Okay, good. You're all here. What's this all about, Kyle? It's Mr. Hanky. He hasn't shown up yet. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm going back to bed. It's only 3 days until Christmas, you guys. You know how bad things have been around here. I think it might be because Mr. Hanky hasn't come. Kyle, I have a full day of watching TV tomorrow. I don't have time to go on a poo hunt right now, okay?
And that eluded me until I went carnivore.
I'm sorry, but I'm thinking of a joke. Someone a long time ago was asking, like, why is shit tapered on both ends? But so that your asshole doesn't slam shut. I'm sorry, that was just, I had to throw that in there because I'm juvenile. What can I say?
And started predominantly eating just meat. I continued while I was keto. I was eating fermented vegetables because when I ultimately made this decision to improve my health at the age of 48, now about 14 years ago, I went paleo, but I was also told to add in fermented vegetables, which is an unusual. I've never met anybody else that went when they were unhealthy on the standard American diet, which I came from. I was a spaghetti eating, pasta, pizza loving, bread devouring guy. I went around to restaurants and I evaluated the bread, how good a restaurant was based on the bread and its olive oil and stuff like that. And but when I went healthy, I added fermented vegetables, and that made all the difference in the world of getting me healthy. But I had this persistent suboptimal stool. So I would say to those that are listening today, the way you want to eat, you should be looking at how well you defecate, how well you pee. You want to have a bowel movement that's like a reflex. In about 3 to 7 seconds, you have a perfectly shaped stool without any effort whatsoever. It's just a reflex. It feels so good because the health of the innervation, the sophisticated automaticity, it's an autonomic function. Your evacuation of stool from your rectum through your anatomical anal canal. And it should feel nearly orgasmic like in quality. If you look at babies who are really
Okay. Okie dokie. That's the first time I've heard that, but okie dokie.
really wonderful examples of how healthy we once were. They will have a bowel movement in their diaper, and you can see vasodilation, redness of their face. This huge smile
true.
comes across their face from this wonderful sensation.
I'm gonna disagree with him on that, because that face they make, little toddlers that make a face. Well, I mean, again, like, I don't know, maybe that's what it should be, but it's like it doesn't look like happiness. It's a weird face, man. Like, I don't know, have you seen a toddler take a crap? Like, their face, they get that kind of thing going on and it's red, but it's hilarious. I always laugh when I see babies take a crap.
Then you move ahead 70, 80 years, and you got a constipated old person struggling just to have a bowel movement, and it feels horrible. The reality is you're getting worse because you're diseasing. And the point of the fact is you should be, as you get older, getting better. Why? Because you get wiser and you figure out how you should be living to improve yourself. In the absence of you biologically improving, you're not getting better, you're not looking better, you're not performing better, is evidence that you are diseasing. And so how high the mighty have fallen. Hang with awesome people, swim in oceans, swim in natural bodies of water, exercise, get sunshine, do a sauna. All of these things, fasting, contribute to improving your microbiome. Am I going to go anywhere near mastering it? No way. But I'm rapidly moving ahead. And my clients are too, as a species, by biologically optimizing microbiome rather than waiting for perfection. So, yeah, the living diet, adding living microbes to carnivores. And the last thing I'll tell you, about carnivore diet is many people come to me, and I've had people have carnivore as much as 9 years who come to me and have a huge amount of inflammatory fat, deadly fat around their hearts and deadly fat within their abdomen still. Now, they're better than the vegans, but just eating meat, as good as that is not enough to optimize your health. There is a lifestyle way better than that, which includes optimization of your microbiome through a variety of different strategies, of which one is dietary, adding in these living microbes, but a sauna, a cold plunge, getting sunshine, maximum intensity exercise.
So he sells a service. I mean, I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying that he sells a service. So, it's hard to know a lot of these things, like how valid what he's saying is. I think there's validity to it. And I think that not because this dude is saying that, even though he's a really hot doctor and he's got to be in his 60s. I think what did he say? 14 years and he was 48. So do the math. It's like 62, right? Did I add that right? So, I think there's validity in what he's saying. Do I think you need to go eat a bunch of fermented vegetables? Probably not. Like he's saying, you can do fermented dairy products. And dairy, like I said, that's still carnivore in most people's minds. You know what I mean? Most people consider that carnivore. A lot of people, not everybody's doing the lion diet. So I don't really think it's that big of a deal, to be honest, but, and it could make you feel better. But I think that I'll go back to what I always say historically, is that you need to experiment, because we're all our own little universes. And you might need certain things that other people don't. And I think that experimentation is fine. Nobody's running out eating vegetables or anything. But, I mean, some people eat sauerkraut. And they do that on purpose because it helps their digestive systems. Like, I think, and Rick, don't kill me if you watch this video, if I'm misquoting you, but I'm pretty sure that Rick eats sauerkraut. of Charger Mopar. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's been a carnivore since he was a teenager, and I'm pretty sure that he eats, I'm positive he eats yogurt, but I'm pretty sure he said he eats sauerkraut. So I've heard a lot of people say this. This is not earth-shattering news. This is something I've heard tons of people say, is that they are a carnivore, but they put in fermented stuff, and they're not running around eating a bunch of vegetables. They're eating a small amount of like yogurt, fermented dairy, kefir, that sort of thing, or the sauerkraut thing. So,
Size, like sprinting rather than doing durational exercise, cutting out alcohol, optimizing your sleep, reducing stress. All of these levers added together synergistically optimize the man or woman.
But the biggest thing has been the depression. And I know there's lots of mechanisms for eating keto, carnivore that go into play with mental health. But I really believe, after interviewing so many people, that a big part of it is our gut microbiome. And I think it's overlooked. So my goal for the longest time is, and the reason I've never cheated on carnivores, because I'm like, I want pristine gut health. All disease begins in the gut, right? Like I want the best I possibly can. So I'm not doing this lightly, but I'm gonna take your advice. I'm gonna try adding some fermented foods in.
All right, so here we are 60 days later. What did I do? What did I change? Well, I was very hesitant to do anything with fermented vegetables. But then Dr. O'Mara said, you don't even have to eat them, Kerry. You could just have the water. And this water, this is sauerkraut juice, by the way. This is filled with metabolites. This has all of that good bacteria from that fermented sauerkraut. I usually don't drink this much. This was just kind of dramatic for the YouTube thumbnail for the video, but I started doing that from time to time. I'm not like chugging sauerkraut water, but I had it from time to time. Then I learned about this Elruteroi yogurt. I'm probably saying it wrong. And it was on Dr. Berg's channel. And it was Dr. William Davis, who wrote Wheat Belly. He's been talking about this and doing studies on it and people having these amazing results. And the thing that he said about this Elruteroi yogurt, you can make it homemade. And that's what I've done. I'll show you some clips on the screen. I made it myself. What he's suggesting, and what he's suggesting here, and what I said earlier, what is ancestrally appropriate for us? We weren't drinking sauerkraut water. But what has happened to us as humans? I had an incredible amount of antibiotics in my gut. There was one stretch where I had like a month or 2 months straight of antibiotics, completely destroyed my gut. And Dr. Davis talks about this Elruteroi yogurt. It will restore bacteria that for most of humanity, it's gone. Most of humanity doesn't have it because of all of the medications we're taking, because of the antibiotics we're taking, because we're consuming low levels of glyphosate for years and years and decades and decades. Every time you eat a bowl of cereal or have some produce, you're having pesticides and glyphosate. Those are destroying our gut. So if you looked at our ancestors' gut, my great-great-great-grandparents, for example, their gut would have had these microbes in them. We lost them all, and they're gone forever. You have this round of antibiotics, it kills them forever. Well, then you can reintroduce them through this. When he started talking about poop, I'm like, you got my number. Everything's been...
And that's possible, like, identifying particular microbial strains that you're saying it was there hundreds of years ago and now it's not. Like, I don't know that there's any evidence to back that up. But the idea that if you would be able to figure out, like, if you're eating beneficial bacteria, you're going to figure it out. Like, if you try this and it works, it works. This is not a thing where you're saying, oh, you got to do this or you're not going to live but so long and all this kind of crap. Because anybody that talks to you about longevity in a lot of these things, they're making assumptions. We don't know a lot of the impact of a lot of these things, but, you can figure out if you've got bad digestion or you got digestive problems or you don't have ideal digestion and you start adding in fermented products, then duh, it's like, okay, it's something that you needed. So it's, it's a different thing altogether. I believe it's a different class of like foods, and I would say I would categorize it as food. This, I think, is got some valid science behind it, honestly. And it goes back to, if you have to look at where we've been to understand where we are now. And we have to look at our environment now, like what's going on. And everything's like super sanitized. Everybody's using hand sanitizer. God, especially from COVID. Like, you destroy your body in terms of what your flora is, your symbiotic relationship with your normal flora. All the sanitizers and even the stuff we eat. Like, if you look at some of the things that we ingested, that destroyed our normal flora in a lot of cases. And then the antibiotics, we all know what that does. That eradicates things that you need and causes you to have secondary infections and all that kind of stuff. So, this is a valid experiment that he's doing. And who knows? I'm all in to try things like that. I would definitely try, especially because it's not off a carnivore. If you already eat dairy, what's the difference? Nothing. Like, if you ate yogurt, like, so what? Now, if this had I'm not 100% sure how many carbs and things like that, but again, like, I would imagine that the freaking sauerkraut juice doesn't have a ton of carbs, because I don't know how that would make me feel. But again, like, you'd have to try it. So, might be worth a try. I don't know. I mean, let's hear what he says about it.
Incredible on carnivore, but the stool chart that he showed on the screen, I wasn't having those big healthy ones. I would from time to time, and overall, like, I'm not
His asshole was slamming shut.
constipated, nothing like that. I'm perfectly regular on carnivore. But the shape and form of the stool, per the chart that he showed, I wasn't having the optimal one that he was suggesting. And so that hit kind of close to home to me. And when he started talking about the antibiotics and the chemicals, all that, I'm like, that's me. Like, I had an incredible amount of antibiotics throughout my life. That combined with, I have heard this message from many others. RFK, for example, he says, I do carnivore with fermented vegetables. My friend Molly, who I've had on the channel, talks about her gut health. So
one thing I will say is, how he was talking about, okay, the stool chart or whatever, it's like, okay, that's mainstream medicine. It's like, I don't put, well, I mean, obviously, like, you can kind of, there's a difference, right? But I mean, saying this looks normal, this is not, being that specific about it, like, I'm not really moved too much by that per se. High level, maybe. But one thing I will say that he said that made sense is that it's an automatic, it should be effortless, basically. That's probably correct. Like, if we were normal and we didn't ruin ourselves with a standard American diet in the medical industrial complex, what would pooping be like? Probably, autonomous, like just whoop, it would all be effortless and it would be an easy thing to do. So that, I think he has a valid point. The dude who was talking, the O'Mara guy, I think that he has a valid point with that. That makes kind of sense. So,
I've heard this over and over again. It fits. I started doing it. I started making the yogurt. I started consuming the yogurt. Here's what happened. I would say within about 2 weeks, my mood improved significantly. Now, again, I'm not trying to overhype this. I feel incredible on carnivore. I overcame depression. Like, I feel great, but I felt even better. Just overall, just the demeanor, just much more positive and just chill and just laid back. Noticeable. Jen noticed it. My wife, Jen, noticed it. That was one thing. The other thing I noticed was within a couple weeks, my stool improved. Like, I had... Jen, come look, you gotta see this. Like, I'm pulling the camera out. I'm like, okay, I can't show people on YouTube my poop, but the poop that Dr. O'Mara showed on the...
It's like, yay, my butt didn't slam shut. I'm sorry, it's the last time I'm gonna do it. This is just fertile ground for a juvenile brain. I'm sorry, okay?
The perfectly formed one, I don't have many of those. I had a perfect one, and it was effortless. It was exactly like Dr. O'Mara described, and that was something that was few and far between on carnivore. Again, not constipated, regular, normal bowel movements on carnivore, but this was something different. This was something, had I not done any of this, and I just had that bowel movement, I would have been like, well, that's kind of weird. And that's been consistent since then. And that's exactly what Dr. O'Mara said, and it makes sense. Like, the quality and composition of our stool is a pretty good indicator of our health, our gut health, for sure. Like, it's the opposite end of what you put in, it comes out. So that was remarkable for me. And then the last thing I noticed as well, my sleep. From time to time, I've talked about this on the channel before, I'll wake up at 2, 3 in the morning, have trouble getting back to sleep. A lot of people struggle with this on carnivore. I've done a whole video on it. When I'm exercising, when I'm getting fresh out, I'm doing things, it's usually a lot better. But since adopting this, fermented, liquid. I don't eat the sauerkraut yet. I'm too hardcore of a carnivore to commit to that. And mainly just the main thing, I rarely do this, honestly. I did it when I first started, and I've just been doing the yogurt. And I don't know if it's a psychological thing, because I'm like, that's pretty much carnivore if you're eating yogurt, right? It's just dairy, and it's homemade, and it's super clean, and I'm making it myself. But the yogurt has been my regular. And I don't eat copious amounts of it. It is tangy. Like, Jen doesn't really like it. I've grown to actually like the taste of it. But I just have the yogurt straight up. Like, I'll have... with a meal, sometimes I'll just have like a spoonful of it. Sometimes I'll miss it for a couple of days and I'll have it again. And I think I'm on my 4th, maybe 5th batch now. I do 2 bowls at a time. I'll show some of this on the screen. You can buy this stuff online. I'll leave a link in the description below. I went with the Dr. Berg, Dr. Davis recipe for the yogurt. And then once you make it, you get down to the bottom of the batch, you got a couple spoonfuls left. You put that as a starter in your next one, and it just goes forever. You don't have to buy this stuff anymore. That's what I've been doing. In fact, I'm going to make up a new batch today. When we went on vacation, I was gone for about 9 days. I didn't have any of the yogurt. Didn't notice any difference. I had some right when I got back. I had some before. It's been incredible. I'm very hesitant to do anything outside of carnivore, and this has been a game changer. Like, I really feel like this is a big problem for most people, and it goes back to just the rules I stick to. Whatever is ancestrally appropriate. We've been eating meat for as long as we've been breathing air and drinking water. Eating meat's good. We've been fasting for that same amount of time. Fasting is good. We haven't been drinking liquid sauerkraut juice, but per Dr. O'Mara's argument, our ancestors would have had this gut bacteria.
You know why? Because they were drinking puddle water.
But because of our modern practices and our antibiotics and glyphosate, pesticides, chemicals, all these things I ate when I was before carnivore, I've eliminated those things, and this is restoring them. Is this something I'm going to have to do forever? I don't know. Maybe from time to time. I don't know. But I will tell you this, honestly.
Well, if it works and your environment's only going to get more modernized, like we're only going in one direction. So if it's something that you find that you do and you need, and you got tapered poop, it's like your poop's tapered and you like it that way, and you keep doing it and it keeps giving you a benefit. I mean, why not? Whatever, it's like, it's not like he's, drinking liquid carbs or something. He's not drinking tons of, I don't know, who knew what he was going to say was in that glass, but I don't think it's that earth shattering, to be honest. So it's no different from like iodine. I realized that I was having thyroid dysfunction because I didn't get enough iodine and I was eating too much bromine. So I was eating bromine because of the standard American diet, and I was not getting foods rich in iodine because, our soil has problems when it comes to iodine. Like, iodine is needed for every cell in your body. It's critical. It's an essential element, right? We can't make it. So I realized that, and I started supplementing with nascent iodine, which is the monatomic form or whatever. And it's like very bioavailable, and it fixed my thyroid. I had a defective thyroid. I had problems. I was sick. They wanted me to go on, synthetic thyroid hormones. And I said, no. My doctor had a big fight with my doctor about it, but I knew that, I was probably bromine toxic too. So I went on that and it fixed my problems. Now I have to take that. I take that every day. I've taken that every day since 2014, and I don't have thyroid problems because of it. That is what fixed it. So it's the same premise that if if we're looking at this as being a sterilized environment versus like what we used to live in, and that change has negatively impacted us, then you supplement with something to fix it. That doesn't mean you're running out eating, oh no, I'm all about big ag now and I'm eating vegetables. No, that's not what's going on here. This is a completely different thing. So supplementation, in some respects, is necessary, I think. Like with the iodine, it's definitely necessary because otherwise my my body doesn't have the iodine it needs to survive. Now I could find foods and eat more foods that are iodine rich, and it would just be difficult to do. So that's just an example of this type of thing, I think.
I feel like it's taken me, I felt like I was 100% a carnivore. I feel like maybe now there's a higher, the ceiling is much higher than I realized, and this is taking me higher. I feel incredible. I didn't want to do this video, but I got to give credit where due. Dr. O'Mara knows what he's talking about. Everything that he suggested has been true for me. I feel incredible. Stool has normalized. Like it's crazy. So if you want to take your your carnivore to the next level. I'm not advocating like switch carnivore, do this. Carnivore is like 90% of it for me. Eating a proper human diet, beef, butter, bacon, eggs, returning to natural, fixing your metabolic health. But I believe, think about it. What sort of antibiotics have you had throughout your life? What sort of medications? What sort of exposure to glyphosate, pesticides, forever chemicals, all of these toxins we're putting?
And even ignoring all of that, again, you live in a sterilized world. I mean, everything is super clean. We're not exposed to the normal bacteria that we used to be. You don't have to have been on antibiotics and things like that. Like just the environment we live in now where everything's super sterile, and disposable. That's very different than what we used to do historically. So just that alone, I mean, not even so if you find that, hey, I was never on antibiotics and I never had these problems and I'm having problems with my digestion, I mean, it's worth a shot, I think. That's my opinion.
In our body that could have destroyed your gut. What has been your experience with that? And where do you feel like...
And the only cult that there is, I mean, carnivore's not a cult. I mean, the only cult that there is, the Chafeite cult, which... glory be to him, the extra ruminant. So let's just be clear about that. I mean, he never joined. He's not part of the cult. So, I mean, it's good. It's good. Well, plus we haven't had our first meeting yet. There was an issue with goat and then, the restraining order and everything. But it'll be okay. So I'm just saying, it's fine.
Like your gut health is now. And does it need a little bit of restoring? If you're not comfortable, like I was not that comfortable with the thought of anything vegetables, even though this is just the liquid of the sauerkraut, just try the yogurt. Try the El Rudera yogurt. I will leave a link in the description below for where I learned how to do that. It was Dr. Berg and Dr. Davis. Let me know below. Do you guys do fermented foods? What are your thoughts on this? And please leave a comment as well. Fermented foods, yes. Fermented foods, no. Is this crazy?
I urge everyone to check out Dr. O'Mara. I will have all of those links in the description below. I love the work you're doing. It's important that we celebrate and uplift doctors that are...
I'm sorry, but he's a good-looking man. I just had to say that again. I'm not really, people might think that I'm some kind of way or something. But, I mean, look at him. He looks great for his age. My God. I mean, doing something right, I guess. Okay, so... has Kerry Mann lost his mind? Is he drinking a dirty martini? No, and no. I don't believe he has. Again, this might be controversial. People might be freaking out. But, I think this from a scientific point of view, all right, nobody can argue with the fact that you have we went from puddle water to super sanitary. That is going to be a problem in some way. I can't tell you exactly how it's going to be a problem. I think it might be more of a problem for some people than it is for others. I don't know. I can't tell you. But I do know one thing, that when you actually change your life with your diet and you fix a lot of conditions, let's say you go on carnivore and everything, and you're doing beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, everything's feeling great. You can still experiment with things. And I'm not talking about carbs are good now. I'm not talking about that whole thing. All right. But there's a lot of people I know of, for example, who can't eat pork like ham or even clean type of pork, like pork that's not got a lot of stuff in it. And they're very careful. They can't eat pork because it makes them feel some kind of way. It causes them some problems. I don't know why. It's meat. I know it's not ruminant, but a lot of people have to stick to ruminant. But how did they figure that out? Okay, if they started on a lion diet, if they never ate pork, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know whether or not it was beneficial for them or whether it gave them problems. So you have to actually try things, All right, let me know. I can't wait for the comments on this one. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Is Kerry a traitor? Does he need his carnivore card revoked? Should he be censored? I'm laughing about all of this because, I don't know. There's a lot of uproar sometimes when things go on. But I particularly think it's hilarious, though, that he did the martini glass. I'm still cracked up about that, especially with the little words, not carnivore and the arrow. Top shelf, Kerry. Top shelf. Kudos to that. But let me know in the comment section what you think about all of this. And I'm really interested, have you tried the fermented products? And if you did, what did you try? How did it make you feel? Did it make you feel better? And just any tips and thoughts that you have. I'll be looking forward to reading them. And if you like this video, if you could hit the like button, I would really appreciate it. And if you want to, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any live streams or videos in the future. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.